Hello everybody. Hello. It's been a while. So I'm finally back after my brief visit in Seattle for Build 23. It was a great conference, very exciting things, and especially the key takeaway for me is that Windows is really back and we are back on track with Windows development and with new cool advancements like Windows Copilot. It's getting more alive again on the Windows development space. So that's great news. And one of the takeaways that I gathered from the discussions with people from Microsoft is that adaptive cards are really interesting, and you can see that especially in the new Dev Home applications where you can embed adaptive cards that you can then pin as widgets onto your widgets board in Windows. So this cool thing is actually something that would be nice to have in Uno platform. So I thought, what would it take to actually bring adaptive cards rendering into Uno platform applications via XAML? Because we have the same XAML as UWP and WinUI, so it shouldn't be that hard. So I thought it would be interesting to take a look into this specific thing today and see what it would take and maybe get started on it a little bit at least. So what I already did is that I cloned the adaptive cards repository from Microsoft, which is somewhere like this. I think that should be that repo. So I went here and I made a fork and cloned it, and basically this repository is quite huge. It contains a lot of different implementations of adaptive cards. So you have native Android implementation here, you have implementation for iOS, you have implementation for Node.js, you have implementation for WPF, then you have implementation for UWP, and I think there's also WinUI, so both are in this area. And then you have also community implementations, which are React Native currently. And what I did, I added this Uno platform folder because that would be something we would like to implement. But for now, let's just take a look what the whole adaptive cards library offers, because it's quite a huge thing. So it's not going to be completely easy to implement, but so basically adaptive cards SDKs have tools for authoring cards, for creating and designing cards, and then compiling them into JSON basically, and then rendering those cards within some UI. So there is the .NET adaptive cards like authoring SDK, where you build up your card from some parts that are available to you. And this NuGet, I think, this adaptive cards NuGet doesn't have any dependencies except for the basic ones that you have available in any framework. So technically this adaptive cards package is something that you can use in Uno platform already. That's quite easy, and you can use all those classes like creating adaptive cards, serializing them, and getting the JSON schema, JSON format for that adaptive card. So that part is done for us, and we don't have to do anything else to achieve it. So that's great. But the more complex part then is rendering cards. And for that, you can see that those are the implementations that are available right now. You can see Android, iOS, JavaScript, HTML, .NET HTML, which I guess would be ASP.NET. Oh, this is no longer in active development, so it's actually not supported officially anymore. There is WPF, there is .NET Image. This is, I actually checked this before. It's a specific implementation for image display within a arbitrary .NET framework. So you could take the rendering and then add the image rendering yourself, because the image rendering is the complex part of the adaptive card. Otherwise, it's just a text and some layout. And then you have UWP and React Native and Xamarin Android, actually. I'm not sure why that's separate, but it is. But there is no Xamarin iOS, I think. So a lot of platforms, but I don't see actually Xamarin Forms here. So I guess for Xamarin Forms you would use the native rendering or Xamarin Android and iOS rendering, and then plug it as native components into your Xamarin Forms application. So that's probably the solution there. But of course there is nothing for UNO platform, and so that would be nice to implement. And the implementation, of course, should be based on the same approach that UWP is taking, because UWP has the same XAML and the same API surface as UNO platform. So we should be able to take their code and bring it into UNO platform without making any changes. But there is a small catch to that, because unfortunately, but logically so, the implementation for UWP and WinUI by Microsoft was done in C++, because they wanted to support all the targets, not just .NET languages. So the whole implementation here is C++ based, which is a little bit unfortunate, because it makes things more complicated to port, because we need to translate that C++ code into C# to make it work under UNO platform. But if we do that, then the upside of it will be that we will be able to run that code on UNO platform and run it on all targets, which is pretty neat. Of course, I was also thinking there would be other options to implement this, like having a platform-specific render on each of the targets that UNO platform supports, like having the UWP library on in case of UWP, having Android rendering on Android and iOS rendering on iOS, and then some kind of JavaScript library on the web. But the missing part here would be the support for SCIA targets, which is WPF and GTK. So for these two, we would not be able to do it unless we implement the XAML-based rendering that we have in UNO platform and have it running everywhere. So that's the better approach here, and I think that's what we should be doing. So let me just backtrack a little bit. So here we have the object model stuff. Yeah. Well, the good thing is that the WPF implementation should be very similar to UWP implementation, but it is C# based. So if we use that as kind of a template for us, and then include those UWP specificities and custom adjustments, then we should be able to achieve our goal much quicker. So that's what I will try to do, and I will open WPF here. Not sure if this one or this one. I'll go with this one for now, and we'll see what it contains. So this solution contains the library for WPF rendering, templating. Not sure what that part does. There is samples, some sample visualizers, and then you have the tests that cover that thing overall. So, oh, we need login. Let's see if we can even compile it, or there are some NuGet packages that are behind. authentication. So I'll just build it first. In the meantime, if you have any questions about build or anything else Uno platform related and UWP related, I can try to answer. What is this guy here? Unable to load service index. So we have some NuGet issues here. Well, let's see. Format, contribute. Okay, let's wait for this to do something. Probably fail, but no matter. We can still look into the implementation here, at least how it looks in C# before we jump into the UWP C++ based version. So the whole thing actually consists of two parts. One is the definition of the adaptive cards components, things like adaptive table, adaptive spacing, adaptive media and stuff like that. So those are the things that you find in JSON and that you can then parse from JSON into C# based classes. Hello MCNet. So there is a lot of those classes here. And I'm guessing that most of these, if not all, can be just taken as they are and brought into our Uno platform-based implementation, because they should be the same. No matter the platform, because this is .NET and we are also .NET based, so this should be exactly the same thing. And we can actually try that. Oh, this is still complaining. We can actually try to do that, but I will first try to disable that NuGet source. If for some reason it won't help out there. So if I disable that source, it could at least restore the newtons of JSON there. So NuGet, no, more NuGet. I will restart Visual Studio just in case. No. Stop building. Right. Okay. Well, the NuGet package source seems to be supposed to be public, as it's in the name. There is public in the name, so I am surprised it requires any authentication or such. But I don't see much help in here on how to authenticate. Markdown. Okay. What is this? CWP. Oh, this is some specific documentation for UWP. Okay. So they actually recommend adding the normal NuGet package source and then you can push your specific NuGet packages to Adaptive Cards public NuGet source. Well, anyways, what is happening here? Did we restore? Oh, it seems that we have restored everything and it builds now. So let's see, this library has dependencies on nothing special except for, well, wait, not this one, this one. VSXMD. What is that? Haven't seen that yet. Oh, it's XML documentation, so that's not a problem. Yeah, but this is essentially fine. This is specifically for UWP, but we don't really care about UWP because we will have this implementation running on UWP directly, so we don't really care about just other targets that UNO platform supports, or so Skia, Android, iOS, macOS, Linux, and such. And this library then is just the WPF implementation, and there is Xceed. So this is some support for Xceed based charts, I guess. Xceed charts. So either way, I'll probably skip this for now, but yeah, it seems that we will have to implement only the adaptive cards rendering WPF, rendering.uno platform part, because this one can be reused. And that one takes care of all the JSON things and stuff. So let's actually start something here. I'll go to community UNO platform and try to replicate the structure that the .NET library has. So there is, in the root, we have a solution file. So the name should be, let's call it adaptive cards. So oh, right, it throws into a subfolder. Okay, so here we have the solution file, and we will have a library folder. Then we have a build folder, which will be probably build scripts. No. This is NuGet related, so maybe we'll skip that for now. Then we have samples, which we'll use to test it out, and of course tests. Right, so let's start the solution. And I will try to structure it again similarly to this whole thing. So let me set this. Okay. Second. Better. All right, so where I was, yeah. So I will create the solution here. So first, a folder for library, then a folder for samples, and a folder for tests. Okay, and in the samples folder I will just put a new Uno platform app on which we will verify things, even though we will need 2 of those apps. So I will do UWP and WinUI. For now I'll start with WinUI and then we'll adjust somehow to support both. So the folder will be samples. So call it adaptive sample WinUI visualizer. It's quite a long path. Hopefully it will not hit any long path issues. That would be unfortunate. Or maybe let's skip this folder, just put it in one single location. That shouldn't be a problem. Uno WinUI visualizer. Yeah. Good. I will go with blank app. Alright, pick all the targets so that we can test it properly. I'll keep NPM, but we'll probably not need it. Skip that. Platform. And Fluent is there, so I will create it. So that will be the new project, and it seems that it was created successfully. All those components are there. I'll just reload so it satisfies Visual Studio. So with adaptive card sample, WinUI visualizer, let's build it. I'm not sure if I have some preview version of the Uno platform plugin. Maybe we'll have to. Okay, this should be okay. Let's wait for it to build. Do we have some issues? What do we have there? I'm afraid there would be some log path issues. Yo. It's quite possible. New targets in the wizard? I don't think there are new targets. I think the wizard contains all the targets that were there before. Just there is a Linux frame buffer. All of these basically. So GTK for Linux UI, so Ubuntu and things like that. Then you have frame buffer for IoT devices, WPF for Windows 7 and newer. Then you have Windows for Windows 11 and 10, and then you have WebAssembly, and then you have mobile, which is Android, iOS, and Mac Catalyst. So all of those are there. So yeah, it is the same thing as before, just packaged more nicely in the wizard. But what is this complaining about? Nah. So, like that thing. I'm really afraid that will be the long path issue. You can see that the path is really, really long, so that could be a problem. Okay, let's... No platform samples, WinUI, adaptive cards, blah blah blah. It's long. It's definitely long. Let's see. Source. No platform. Samples. But I put it in the WinUI folder, didn't I? I thought I didn't. Okay, but that's not gonna save us probably. So what I think now I will do instead is that I will just delete the whole thing. and make the path much shorter. What is this? Yeah, this one. By naming it shorter as well. So let's name it much shorter. So Uno WinUI sample. It should be fine. It's in the Uno platform folder, so it shouldn't be confusing to anyone. And I will just keep it like that. So all the targets again. And hopefully now we will be more lucky. Okay, let's see. Reload. There we have the Uno WinUI sample. It's in that folder, that makes sense. And now we should be able to build it correctly. So far, so good. No red underlines. Seems that it could work just fine. Now this is just a warning, and it all succeeded. So we have the sample there. We can actually even verify that by running, yeah, of course. We need to run that with a target like that. Whoa. Deploy before we can debug. Okay, so there is a, oh, it's not checked. The deploy is not checked. This is an issue that we had before. Maybe it returned. Let's see. What I will do, will report that as an issue. The original state was this. Okay, should be enough. Okay, so let's report it, but let's go back here. So the Windows app is just a plain Hello Uno platform app. I can see it is actually older version because it doesn't have the proper scaling applied here. So I really have the older version of the NuGet package. Application manifest. Alright, no. The manifest is here about application manifest. Is app manifest. Maybe that will help out. Ah, nice and sharp now. Okay, so let's go here into library and let's create a Uno platform library. So this cross runtime library, we don't need cross runtime, hopefully. We'll probably just need library as it is. And oh, I have multiple of these. I still have different versions of templates installed, so I'm not sure which one is the correct one right now. Could be any. Let's see. Project types. So this is WinUI app. This is Windows, and this is WinUI, and this is also WinUI. And I don't see the UWP one. That's odd. Maybe cross runtime library, cross platform library. Not sure where these are coming from. But anyways, Uno platform library should be it. So let's try it. It should be named. What are so adaptive cards rendering no platform. Great. So let's see. Yes, so this is the correct one. We have .NET 7, iOS, .NET Windows, and stuff like that. So this is the WinUI version of the library. That's good. All right. Well, let's delete this arbitrary class. And now I will add the existing project, which is adaptive cards, source. I will use the .NET version, library, adaptive cards here. So because we will reuse that one. So there is no reason not to just put it there as it is. So I'm guessing this has reference to that library directly. So I will reference it here as well. With a bit of luck, it should be all good and it should still compile. Yes, it does. So now let's look into things as they are here. So there are themes. So there are some theming settings, and there are the classes themselves. So I will maybe I will start with the classes, and we'll be looking in those in both the WPF version, which is the C# base, and the UWP C++ based version, and I will be comparing what's there. But first I will need to find where those things are hidden here, because I'm not sure. So maybe I will just search for adaptive action event arcs, even though it might be differently named. No, let's see. Here. So shared render. Okay, so it's in a shared render in UWP folder. So this folder is the one that's interesting for us. Yes. All right. Good. So this contains everything that we need. So let's do things one by one and start with this adaptive action event arcs. It seems that it contains action and adaptive inputs. So the WPF version contains only the adaptive action element, but not adaptive inputs. So that's something we need to fix. Also, there is AI adaptive action element here, which is not present in WPF. So let's do one more thing here. Adaptive cards, UWP SDK. As there is no documentation directly. Okay, let's do one more thing. Let's create a UWP application. So you can see how it looks in action when inside of UWP application. Rendering UWP. Okay, this one. And it's quite possible that the WPF version of adaptive cards is somehow limited or incomplete, because I'm pretty sure that more people are using the other versions of adaptive cards, so I wouldn't be surprised if there were things missing as compared to UWP version, for example. So adaptive cards. Let's see. The one that we are interested in is adaptive action event arcs. So it doesn't have a constructor, but arcs has an action and has inputs here. So action is of type iAdaptive action element, which is a interface. Let's see if we can find this here. Nope, there is no docs published for it directly, so we'll just have to build it ourselves. Oh, we have some namespaces. Right, so for UWP it's in the UWP namespace, for WinUI it's in the WinUI free namespace, which is expected, but will mean that we will have to adjust for that when we are implementing like the runtime switching. We have Uno platform right now. We named it Uno platform, even though we will have two different versions there. So maybe we should break it down into two different libraries and have them share files and compile for WinUI and UWP separately. Maybe that's a good way to go. Yes, so library, I will call it cards rendering Uno WinUI. And there will be one for adaptive cards rendering Uno UWP. So those two different versions, and I would share the same files, just compile them differently. One with the WinUI namespaces, one with the UWP namespaces. But for now, let's focus on the implementation in WinUI specifically, and then we will adjust for UWP, because that's gonna be easier to do in one batch in the end. So I will add the project reference again. And let's see. So there is a lot of things to add there, and because here we have only classes, So we don't have we don't have the event arcs even here. Where is that? So the shared renderer, there is shared object model, adaptive action element. That's where. Yeah, we don't have that there. Just a second. Right. So, yeah, things are getting more interesting. So, I'm not completely sure where the object model part of the code is here, because it seems that there is adaptive action, for example, but what is adaptive action element? What is the difference? Is it the same thing? It is possible it is. Initialize base element. Parser registration. So these classes seem to be the same thing as these in WPF, but they are using different naming conventions in some places. And it's possible some things are not implemented in WPF, so we'll have to be adjusting for that later as well. So, this makes things more complicated. So, adaptive cars object model. Let's see. Get adaptive cards rendering WinUI. So it has dependencies on object model WinUI 3, which contains those object model classes. Alright, so that makes our job a little bit more complicated, because we need to implement, even though we could use some parts of this from WPF, it would not match the UWP implementation completely. So the better approach will be to actually implement both the object model as well as the rendering of it. So yes, complications abound. So render, and what is the visualizer? What is the visualizer? Well, maybe that's just a sample app. Alright, so let's just get something working or something started. This will definitely not be implemented in one session, but I was just interested in what would it take. So let's start with something simple, which would be the adaptive action event arcs, and let's try to implement those here. So I'll add it. I think they have it in the root. Yes, in the root. So this one, action event arcs. So let's create that here. Well, let's make sure that we have the correct namespacing. So here we have reference. So the namespace should be something like this, but in our case, WinUI 3. Right. Maybe it's not useful that we created that as a UWP app. We should have WinUI app, because that will be closer to what we are doing right now. So let's, oh wait, nope. adaptive cards. WinUI. So install that. So I guess the namespace will be this one, WinUI 3, but just to make sure we don't have many mistakes there. I'm not sure why they're using WinUI 3 there, because what if there is WinUI 4 someday? That would be a breaking change. Risky. Let me take this. So let's go to the definition. So it's correct, this WinUI 3 namespace. And let's use file scope namespaces, so it's nicer. Enable, and then we have mark this public. So the public namespace, so we can take that from the IDL file, which was somewhere in that WinUI part. So renderer IDL here. So this should contain all the public surface of it. Oh, what was the suggestion here? Yeah, that's almost what we need. Not completely, but close. We'll have it internal. There is adaptive action element action. So that's in object model WinUI 3. So we'll be adding using for that one. And we will be creating a new project called adaptive cards. Uno WinUI. Yes, and I would put it into library as such is the thing that I forgot to do before. So the solution now is a little bit messy, but we will survive that. What I will do is set the default namespace. What is it? How do you do that? The default namespace, is it root namespace, right? Root namespace. And let's call it WinUI 3. Like the reason why I'm using a different namespace than the name of the library is that we are trying to stay close, or exactly the same, have the same exact API surface as WinUI. So having that namespace match WinUI exactly means that you will be able to use the adaptive cards library from Microsoft for WinUI and UWP, and then use our version of that library, our fork of that library for UNO platform targets. But do not, you don't have to change any single line of code, because we have the same, you are just compiling against UNO platform instead of against WinUI. So that's pretty nice. I'll stop complaining here. I already said that I have do not disturb, I'm not sure. Nah, well. Oh well. So adaptive card, adaptive action element. This is not correct because the code contains adaptive inputs instead. So this is much better. Adaptive inputs, and we'll be initializing those two things. So action inputs equals action. Oh, come on. This shorthand initialization syntax is based on tuples, and it's quite cool when you have just 2 or maybe 3 parameters of the constructor. It makes it a little more succinct. It's kind of like the record syntax, which we could actually maybe use. We could use records for this or not. I'm not sure, but let's keep it for now as class, just plain class. But yeah, so edit with class. I have the action element. We create that interface, and that interface will be. Actually, we have nullable enabled. Enable, just enable it project wide. That's better. So adaptive action element. Let's find it in the WinUI app. Yeah, so go to definition. And let's copy the whole thing here. Also, there are several things that we'll have to add. And now the kind of problematic thing is that in case of WinUI, they are using the JSON implementation in WinUI, which is Windows Data JSON. And we don't have that right now because that is a completely separate implementation from system text JSON and from newtons of JSON. So it's a separate thing. That is a little problematic. And now the question is, will we be able to work around that by switching this JSON object to system text JSON or newtons of JSON, or we will have to do some magic around it. So that will be interesting. I am not sure, and we will have to figure it out, but we are still ways ahead from away from that, so not a big deal right now. So action type, and we should find that in here. Action type is an enum. Public enum action type. Now, well, we can actually add all of these enums there because they will be needed anyway, so just a little bit copy pasting time. So let's do that now. Text size. The screen is small because I'm streaming full HD only, so I'm trying to make things big enough. But that means that the screen is small, and sometimes it's tricky to have everything on the screen. Okay, so notifications here. Okay, let's go forward here. So foreground color. So to kind of expand on the JSON issue, technically UNO platform could implement the Windows Data JSON namespace, but it would mean that we would have to include either system.text.json or Newtons of JSON as a dependency of UNO platform, which is not great. So instead, I would we would instead probably do this as a add-in, as an optional package that you can add into UNO platform as a dependency, and that would implement that namespace either using system.text.json or using system text.json, Newtons of JSON or system text.json. So that would be a separate dependency on top of UNO platform, but you wouldn't have to include it unless you actually need it, which means that we wouldn't bring unnecessary weight to already large applications. So that's definitely something that people would appreciate. Type, color, action type we do have already. Image type, image style. Yeah, this is not very fun, I guess, watching this copy paste thing, but it needs to be done. We don't have to do all of them, but yeah, there's a lot of them still to do. So I will maybe do a few more and then stop and then switch to something more interesting for a while. So why do I have still the notifications when I already set everything to do not disturb? That's weird. And annoying. So why are you still not working? Maybe now? So separator fix as. And one more then space sync, and then we will switch to actual code again. But this needs to be done, so just batch by batch I will continue adding these. But if we go back here, we should have at least a little bit more, not here, but in the iAdaptive action element, we should have something more greener. This, for now, let's do the Windows Data JSON. Fallback type we need. Fallback type, so let's add that one, just so we then are able to compile the thing. Okay, so, and maybe let's, for cleanliness, then I will move these into, no. So what are the enums? All of these are enums. No. So I'll put these in enums folder, so the root is more clean. Right, so action mode. I could be taking these from the WPF version, but I'm afraid there are missing things, especially because, as we saw before, there are some different namings and stuff. So just for safety reasons, I am doing this manually. And I made a mistake because I let this be in the namespace of roles of enums. So action role. So in here, I need to delete this. So let's see, adaptive action element. So this is now green and it should compile as a whole thing. Yes, it does compile. So that's this one. So now we should be able to, oh, right, we need to add a dependency to that one here. And we actually can remove this one because we don't need it anymore. And we also, no, that's fine. So this is okay. So this one is implemented. Of course, it should be public. And now we have adaptive inputs, and that thing is in here. Adaptive inputs, so it's a class. I will be just adding the classes as they come based on what I need, so I can still keep the whole thing compilable. So this class is a constructor, public constructor, and has these methods. Right, so as JSON as a value set. Keep them not implemented for now. So value set is definitely implemented in Uno platform. Again, JSON object not really. Validate inputs, submit action. Okay, so that one. Again, should throw. So now the adaptive action event arcs builds. Yes, nice. All right. So what do we do next then? Let's go to adaptive inputs. Here. So the implementation has this thing. Right, what is this? Okay, so utility class. So these are some like static utilities. So public static string JSON object. No. This object string to JSON object string inputs string. Is it very similar to any like porting of WinUI controls to Uno platform, because we just take the C++ code, translate it into C#, and then have it running hopefully without any changes in Uno. So it's nothing too unexpected. It seems very straightforward. And I actually might automate this a little bit by using our very advanced regex translator from C++ to C#, which doesn't do all of it, but does a lot of it. So maybe I will use that. And if you're surprised why I'm keeping these weird naming conventions from C++, it's mainly because it makes it easier for us to later update that implementation to newer versions. In case Microsoft changes something, we can then check what has been changed and based on that re-implement our code or update our code accordingly. Yeah, this is just a complaint that is implemented. Now well, this is not now, this is like a new JSON object, like this. So return. Now we have, right, this is okay. Right, this is static method. Right, and let's go back to adaptive inputs. So this whole method can be implemented just by calling that. Let's actually add the utils class as a static. Yeah, exactly that. Thank you, Copilot. So string to JSON object, get input items as JSON string. So, what are the input objects? Last retrieved values. To be fair, I'm not completely familiar with what adaptive inputs actually do, so that will be quite another thing to get to understand it. But maybe we could leave this as to do because it seems to be more complicated. Maybe let's try to get some simple class implemented completely. So what could be kind of simple here? Okay, this is just 200 lines of code, so not that bad. Adaptive table renderer. But maybe there is something less complicated even. So let's see, text block renderer. Okay, that seems to be nice. So text block renderer. Oh, right, this is rich text block. Ah, let's do text block only. Let's. Oh, right, text block renderer. Quite easy, right? So let's do this one. Let's do this one. The adaptive text block renderer. Let's first find it in the IDL file. Not here. Different IDL. Different IDL. This one IDL. So adaptive text block renderer has just a constructor, so nothing special there. Let's confirm this in the app here. So there we have adaptive text block renderer, which has a lot of weird stuff from WinUI, but there is this. This is internal, like implementation of iAdaptive element renderer. This implementation is, however, explicitly implemented. The interface is explicitly implemented, so it's not a visible implementation. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. It seems that the public constructor is just the one thing that's relevant for us. So let's implement this, shall we? Adaptive text block renderer. Then we will have to add also the adaptive element renderer interface, which is probably at the beginning somewhere here, and it has a very simple API. So it takes in adaptive card element, which we don't have yet, adaptive render context, which we don't have, and adaptive render arcs, which we don't have. So one step further, we'll add these adaptive card element, which will be added into here. Put in all those things. Okay. Get rid of the C++ specific syntax. Clean up usings. Move this. This iVector, I think it is projected as a list in C#, so let's see. Requirements is a iList, yes. iList. And surprisingly, these are fields, not properties, but they are. So we shan't do anything about it. Or are they? It's... Oh, maybe they are not. They are not. At least here it doesn't seem that they are. It seems that they are proper properties. So why the IDL is lying to us? Oh, so maybe when you define it like this, it's get set, and when you define it just with getter, then it's read-only property. But overall, all of these should be get set properties, which is, it makes sense. Okay, I hate these namings, so let's use proper .NET namings. Height type, we don't have height type. Interesting. Let's add it. Height type. And the other things are appdiff requirement, which is a class. And just to verify, if I do adaptive requirement and go to definition, it should be, yes, get set. Yes, it's just the same thing here. So, and it's not internal, it's public. So, John, get set. Hello, hello. What brings you here? Adaptive requirement. Right. So in there, let's maybe look into that implementation. There is something special? No. There is really nothing there. But it has a constructor. No, yeah, it does have a constructor there. Requirement name and requirement version. So that's, it was missing in here. No, it's there. I just missed it. All right. Public. And let's use the tuple syntax again. So name version, string. Good. So we have adaptive requirement now. So this is now green and we should be able to compile again. This is a little souvenir I brought from Build. Very beautiful cup with Microsoft Surface logo on the back. Oh, it's probably not visible there, but it is there. So, yeah, it's very, very nice mug. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can get it in the Microsoft company store. And it's even available online. They are shipping those things, I think globally. So Microsoft company store. It's this store. I'm not sure how much is the shipping, but it's available. You just need to enter your email address, and then you can order from there. I think it should be available for everyone, so I will post that link there. Good. Yeah, no problem. Remote PR. Yes, yeah. I'm working on that. The blocker there is that I'm waiting for the release of 4.9 version of Uno, which should happen hopefully anytime now. So hopefully then it will be merged. So very close, very close. Sorry for that delay, but it's very close. Right. So then we have this one. Adaptive requirements. And this is, yeah, okay, so this is done. So let's go back to adaptive text block render and clean this up. Make it public because the class is public. And now let's look at the definition there. So it implements the adaptive element renderer, but it implements that explicitly, so like this. And let's bring in all the dependencies. Yeah, of course, we don't have the context and render. Wait, we don't have those. So how did... Oh, the renderer is here, not in the object model. So we will need to add those, but let's add this render method and also the constructor. So constructor will be simple. I hope it's just a plain constructor with nothing in it. Let's see. Here, yes. So there is nothing here regarding the constructor, so it should be, yeah, it's empty. So let's take this code as a whole thing and let's implement it or translate it into C# language. Okay. So let's first replace auto space with bar space. We have a more automated approach to this, but as I'm now rushing through this, I will just keep it simple here. So remove this. And now, so card element. Oh, the naming is different, but the public name should be element, no? So the IDL file has, no, the adaptive element render. Okay, because yeah, of course, it doesn't really matter because the class is the interface is implemented explicitly, so it shouldn't be a problem that the naming of the parameter is different. So as adaptive text block, we don't have that yet, but we will have that. So right, let's do this. So it must be a adaptive text block, so we can do explicit casting, and if it fails, then the problem is that something very wrong happened above. Text here, or yeah, error status code required property missing. Okay, the error status code is something we can add. We will add it again from the IDL here. No, not here, but in here. It's probably here. Yes. So error code. It's an enum. These are the items. So error status code was added, and then we go back to here. So this is now okay. So if text is empty, is null, and we could actually make it safe here. So let's make it safe. So if it's null, it will be null and we will have the error there. So that should not cause any trouble. And now we have the text block, which you create. Now we're actually doing UWP stuff. So XAML helpers. Yes, okay. So we'll, this XAML helpers thing we will have to add later. Style this also is a helper that we'll have to add, but let's skip that. So inlines here. So if adaptive text was style is null. If it has a style, so we're checking if that there is some specific style defined. And text style is a enum from here again. So we'll take it and add it. And error status code, yes, I have the right namespace. Oh, text style. Let's add it. Remove this. Make this nice. Public enum. Oh, just paste it. Boom. Right. So text style enum. Another part that we will need. So just translating stuff from C to C sharp. C++ uses 2 colons. We'll use a dot. So in many cases that will fix things. Automation properties. That's a thing from UWP and WinUI. Then we have a mismatch of closing braces somewhere. Try render. This one has a matching one here. So there's some mismatch in braces. Not sure where it happens. This is okay still. And this one matches this one. So there's one more, but no. So there's something still wrong. A null pointer replace with null. Just one occurrence. Maybe that will be a method. So what else is there? Adaptive text. So we have get heading level from context. So let's take that part out of there into here. Let's make this bigger so we can see it as a one unit. So the constructor is empty. And we have this and this method. So let's implement this one. It will be in 0 private automation heading level. We'll get this. Render context, we don't have that yet. Let's remove this part. So replace it with nothing. And we will replace double colon with a dot. Boom. Because we are returning, we don't need break statements here. So just remove those. This could be a switch expression, I guess. So maybe we should simplify it. Yes, we should simplify that into a switch expression. Much nicer. Yeah, not cast to. Oh, okay, what is it? Oh, okay, that's fine. But we will add that type later, so just keep it for now like this. And adaptive render context we don't have yet. So if there is any exception, we'll send that somewhere further down the line and return null, which is okay. So this return statement should be nullable, and that is also true for the namespace definition. So maybe we should add these classes, at least stubs, so that we don't have so many underlines. But let's check them here. first. So this class. Adaptive render arcs. Okay. Boom. Public class. And now all those things. So again, many things that we will not have yet. So there is the constructor, which is public. Then we have container style, which we should be able to add. It's probably just an enum. Let's see that implementation here. CPP. So okay. Adaptive render arcs. So there are 3 constructors. It seems that it's just one public constructor, but they have internal constructors that are that include some arguments to be set. Yes. Well, if it's not public, we don't really care. Yes, so the public one is just a parameterless one. So, adaptive render arcs. So now we have this stop for adaptive render arcs. And I will just add the container style here. Should be a quick one. So again in the object model arcs. Yes, it's just plain enum. Nothing special there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so container style, include that. We don't have adaptive card yet, but we'll manage. I just wanted less warnings here. So a render context is the other class that we need. That's gonna probably be a big one. Oh, that's a big one. That's the whole rendering context thingy that keeps the whole thing, the whole rendering status and state. So, what is the name? Adaptive render context. Adaptive render context. Alright, let's create it. I'll make this stop, and I will probably then slowly wrap it up. Because it's getting late, so it's gonna be better to wrap up and continue next week. Right. So there's a lot of issues here. I will not fix that for now. I'll just put it here to finish up later. But now that we have those properties in there, there should be much less warnings here. So add error. Let's add those which are used. So add error. Let's make it public. And for now, let's throw an exception. We have error status code. We have string message. Okay. Done. Then we have. Oh, what is this? Come on. Right. So add error. Then what are we using here? Come on. Render context. So add error is there. Then we have XAML helpers. Let's switch the text style in render context. That should be there. Text style. So this is a nullable. Public nullable set. I'm pretty sure this means it's nullable. I reference, so adaptive render context c dot text style. It's nullable, yes. It's nullable. The same thing for RTL. It's nullable. So public bool set. No, what is this? Yes. Right. Now let's continue here. So text style is now a proper reference. Get value from ref. I don't have that yet. Host config is what? That's just a property. So this public adaptive host config thingy. Set XAML inlines. And I'm sure where this is coming from, because it's not in that file. So let's search for set XAML inlines. Oh, so there is another helper library which does exactly this. So it sets XAML inlines and does various text related stuff. So that's a big one, unfortunately. Anyways, so this renderer, even though it seemed simple, it's not really that simple. So unfortunately, maybe action invoker, no, action card. Let's see if there's some part of this that's more open URL action renderer. There is datetime parser, text style, text input renderer. Text input renderer might be better because it's just text box based. There is there is a ton of things, so I'm thinking that this could be a good place to wrap it up for now, but we can continue next time with further porting of these. So for now, what we did is that we ported quite a few of those object model parts from the C++ code. Those are the simple classes because those are basically just containers for JSON serialization and deserialization. So they are quite simple. And that library actually compiles even now. What we don't have working is the rendering library, which doesn't compile because we have a lot of invalid references there. But that's not a big problem. We can continue on that next time. And I think the easiest goal might be to actually finish up this text block renderer, get these missing underlined things working, then finish up the render context, somehow implement it, because it's even though it's going to be a complex one, I think this one might be in the realms of hundreds of lines of code. Oh, it's actually a small one, but there's a lot of... It's actually delegating the implementation to other places, so I guess it's just hidden inside. And once we get these two, the render context and the render arcs, implemented properly, and once we add adaptive card itself, in that moment we can start taking those parts together and actually try to render a very simple card with just a single text block inside, some hello world adaptive card, and that would be the goal. Not sure if for next time, but for like the next big step in the journey. And if we get there, then the rest should be just plain porting of code from C++ into C# with some adjustments, probably around the JSON serialization and these things. But it is doable, definitely, and we need to just keep on it until it works. So what I will do, I will take our changes, but maybe before we do that, I will first... Yes, there might be some... No, this is okay. I will just first move the libraries to the proper place. Just the last thing to do today, because we created that in the wrong location. So I will move them. What is this? Why are you complaining? Yes. So I will move them to that right folder and re-add them. Yes, it's not there, no longer there. Add existing project. Source. Where do we have that? Community Uno platform library. So this one. And this one. Yes. Those are there. And finally, these .NET MAUI don't show again. Oh, it is there. Oh, I didn't know. So hopefully I will not see it again. There. Okay, let's get rid of this. Yes, so this is our current layout. So I will... Okay, what is this? This is just obj folder. So now I will save it and push this part in there. Will I push the samples? Probably can. It's not that a big part of it. So yeah. And what is the convention for? Yeah, no convention commits. So let's break it down a little bit. So project. And now start implementation. Good. So we push it. Let's push it to origin. And yeah, that should be it. So I thank you for joining me today. I will be back hopefully next week, and we will continue on this implementation, and we will hopefully get somewhere further with this and close to rendering an actual simple adaptive card with our C# based implementation of Uno platform. So let's wish us luck, and we'll see each other next week. So have a good day and see you.